This child was only 12 years old the first time she committed murder, which earned her a place in history or criminal history as the youngest female killer to be convicted in Britain. We are going to be working on the case, talking about the case of Sharon Carr, or better known as the Devil's Daughter. Okay, guys, I don't feel too great today, so just bear with me. My usual disclaimer, I mean no disrespect to whoever I mentioned throughout this video. I'm just compiling stuff I've read on the internet into one video. So if you guys like true crime and stuff like this, make sure you subscribe, because we do true crime videos every day of the week, and on the weekends we just try to do something fun. I'm pretty sure you're going to love it. If you like the video, please like, it helps a ton. Let's get right into the case. So Sharon Carr, Devil's little girl. So on the 9th of June 6th, 1992, Katie Radcliffe, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, Katie Radcliffe went out to a nightclub with her friend. She had just come out of a breakup and she wasn't really feeling like doing anything or going out and having fun, but her friend insisted, like, okay, let's go to a disco, and that day she managed to convince her to come with her. So Katie went to the nightclub and they seemed to have a good time, but at the end of the day, at the end of their time there, they were separated. I'm not sure if they decided to go their separate ways or they got separated and were not able to contact each other. So some sources say Katie walked home, some sources say she had a lift, but her boyfriend, or her ex-boyfriend at the time, said she asked him for a ride, but he could not offer her a ride because they had just broken up and he was with another girl at that time. I could understand that. So it seems Katie began to walk home. The problem is Katie never made it home that night, and in the morning of June 7th, 1992, her body was found in Farnborough. Her body was found in Farnborough, which is like 12 hours walk from where the nightclub was. Katie was found half naked and several stab wounds to her body. Some were deeper, some were just shallow wounds, but she had more than 27 stab wounds. I've read between 30 and 32, so she had a lot of stab wounds on her body. And the crime scene just looked so brutal, and it looked like what a man would do. Plus she was found half naked, so it felt like probably a sexually motivated crime. She had cuts to her body, a really deep cut that actually went through her, and probably that's what killed her, I guess. But she also had cuts to other parts of her body. Plus down there she had cuts to her vagina, she had cuts around the chest area, which made it feel like, okay, it was a sexually motivated crime. And some of the cuts happened to have been done on her after she was dead. So the person actually took their time, and it seemed like they enjoyed the process, which made the police come up with a profile like, okay, this is probably some sex offender or something. And they were looking for a man, probably older and in his 30s, 35. So he should probably be strong, someone who probably lives or has a huge build, because I don't know, you wouldn't think a 12-year-old is going to plunge a knife or sword or whatever through someone's body. Plus Katie was already 18 years old. She was almost an adult, so it meant that a man would probably overshadow her, and that made more sense. So that's a profile they came up with, whoever her killer was. And for more than 2 years, the police spent time looking for this male killer, and everyone was absolutely scared because this person had not been found, and everyone was scared if this person did this, then they could do it again. After this happens, the police gather as much evidence. There was really nothing left behind for the police to work on, so they go back to the nightclub trying to figure out how Katie left, and they're just looking at all the men who were at the nightclub, interviewed people, did a lot of talking, but like nothing was actually, no one was really found suspicious, like, okay, this is a suspect. They really had nothing out of it, and that is where the police released a public statement. Oh, Katie had a jacket when she was that was missing, if anyone could help find it. And Katie also lost a bracelet, but the police did not release that information. So the family just, this ended up sadly being a cold case for a very long time, and the family was just disturbed with no news or nothing of how to know, to have some closure as to why their daughter died the way she did. So the police are fixated on this profile they have in mind, and 2 years go by and they have nothing to show for it. And now a random attack happened in Cambly, and it's on the exact same date, the 7th of June 1994, 2 years after Kate was, just the exact same day, 2 years after Kate was murdered. And it is at a school where a young schoolgirl, Anne-Marie, was stabbed and she was punctured to the lung. But fortunately for her, she survived and she was able to tell the police what happened to her. So she said another classmate of hers called for her, asked her to go with her to the bathroom to find her coin, and so she did. But when they were in the bathroom, she pushed her to the ground and took out a knife and started tossing it around her hands, and had this smile on her face. And obviously the girl was just terrified and trying to get away, but she was stabbed, and she succeeded in pushing her away, but when she was about to leave the door, she got pushed down and was stabbed again. But this was when some other schoolgirls walked into the bathroom and they saw what was going on, ran outside and called for a teacher, who then called the police. And that's how Anne-Marie was able to survive the whole ordeal. Who is this student? Well, it's 14-year-old Sharon Carr, who was a really violent student. So no wonder when she asked Anne-Marie to follow her to the bathroom, she had no choice but to go, so she wouldn't get mad at her, I think. But Sharon Carr, like, she literally tried to strangle the staff members when she got arrested. Let's talk about 14-year-old Sharon Carr. She was born in Belize and she lived with her mom and dad. They did not have such a good life. They were really poor, and her father often got drunk, and whenever he was drunk, he was really abusive to her. And her mom did nothing. She was also abusive, like verbally abusive to her. She was not like, it was not like the dad was drunk and crazy and the mom took care of her, but she just really did not have that love and affection growing up. She was just used to seeing violence, and that was what she was used to for a long time. Not too long after, her parents got separated and her mom met this British man. When he was about to leave to England, the mom decided to go with him, and she took Sharon along. That's when Sharon and her mom moved to Cambly, England. Sharon had just moved from a really poor setting to like a better life, and she got like a proper school, and she was actually doing really good at it, at least for the first few years, I presume, because at the start Sharon was doing really good at school. However, not too long after, she began to make friends with some really bad older kids who became a really bad influence on her. And by the time she was just 11 years old, she started doing weed, and she used to smoke weed daily. Yeah, at 11 years old. This little safe and calm family life that Sharon has just gotten soon became really violent, which led her to her new character and her new friends, and made her spend a lot of time away from home, because the home had also become really violent. That's because the dad wanted to leave, the new husband wanted to leave the mom, and she did not take it well. At some point, she poured boiling water oil, I'm not sure which one, on him. Some sources said water and some sources said oil, so I'm not sure. She poured boiling oil on him, and that was when he said he was leaving her, and Sharon was present when her mom actually did that. And she just watched and was at 37. She did not move. She was just watching, and she did not scream like a normal child would be scared or frightened. She just did not move. And this was what the mom's now second ex-husband told the police. At this point, Sharon is a little terrorist, I would say. In her neighborhood, everyone in her neighborhood knew she always had a knife, and they were always just really scared of her. There were pets missing, and like everyone just knew it was Sharon, but you wouldn't dare speak or do whatsoever, because Sharon, like, they already knew she had a knife, a little knife that she always walked with around. Like, everyone was scared of her, including adults. So much later, like, if I'm not sure if you guys know this, but if you've watched some of the serial killer videos that we have done and more that we are going to cover, you're going to see that killing animals is a thing that leads to it's just often a thing with serial killers. I don't know why, but a lot of research that I've done, serial killers start by killing animals, and there's some videos coming up. You guys are going to probably see why I'm saying this now. Well, Sharon was just this scary little kid around, so everyone was scared of her. But when she was about 12 years old, she graduated from the small knife that she always had around, and she moved into she just had something bigger. She needed something bigger, which was a 6-inch blade that she now carried around with her. So that was just like a brief introduction to get you guys to like meet and greet Sharon Carr, the devil's little girl. Okay, I don't feel well and I'm still being stupid. So let's go back to 1994, where all of this happened. Sharon now is at a young offenders kind of a prison for young offenders, because she's too young to actually go to like court, because she was found guilty for stabbing and attempting to strangle the two members of the staff. So she was found guilty, but they could not send her to an actual adult prison, but she's just sent for where young offenders are kept, and where she's to spend, I think it was a 2-year sentence. I'm not particularly sure, but then while she was there just enjoying her time, she began to brag and talk about all the stuff that she has done. And this is when she started telling people, anyone who cared to listen, just started telling them about the things she had done to Katie Radcliffe, and how she had also spent a lot of time writing them down, because it was she enjoyed the moment so much, and she was trying to relive that moment, and there was no better way to do that but to write them down, which was what she had written down in her diary. So the police go and find Sharon's diaries, and the entries are just really graphic. There's some on the internet, so you guys can check that out, but like, it's just hard. She's explaining the process over and over. However, it's slightly different a couple of times, but the underlying fact is how she stabbed Katie multiple times, how she struggled to breathe, how the air just ended, like how she took her last breath and she felt her eyes closing, and how good that really made her feel. Like, she felt like, oh, these are just excerpts from what she wrote. And that was exactly how she felt during the murder, and she had written about it over and over. However, nothing quite felt like the moment when she murdered Katie. So remember why police was looking for a male? Because there was a clear sexual motive to the way Sharon was murdered. And this is a quote from Sharon's diary. "I swear I was meant to be a murderer. Killing for me is a must turn on. It just makes me so high, I never want to calm down. I enjoyed putting the blade up her. It made me feel so powerful. How sick can that little girl be at 12 years old?" So her defense tried to make it sound like all the things she wrote in her diary were just fantasies that she was having, but they were so specific. For example, one read, killed KR. Death by knife wounds and sex go together. Like, that was KR, Katie Radcliffe. So, and another entry said that this was the entry the day before she stabbed Anne Marie, and she was like, "Oh, killing Katie made her feel so good. She's going to do it again," which was probably what she was hoping. The high she was hoping to get out of killing Anne Marie, but at school, how stupid can you get? After reading all of this from her diary, she just said at some point, probably after speaking to her lawyers, because she had already been interviewed by the police for 27 hours, and she had already really told them a lot of the things that were already in her diary. Probably after speaking to her lawyer, she tried to say they were just fantasies that she had come up with, and she did not actually kill KR. But the problem is, the details that she had explained to them during her interviews, plus the details in her diary, it even stated that she stole her bracelet. Remember, the police gave out the information about the jacket, but they did not talk about the bracelet, which was something that only the actual killer knew. And she even gave some details that the police had not released to the public about the murder. So later on, Sharon then came clean and confessed that, okay, she killed KL, but this is what happened. That night, she was in a car with some two men, and Katie was just walking, and they offered to give her a lift. So probably seeing a young girl made her more comfortable to enter the car with those guys. But she got in, and she soon realized that they were not taking her to where she was going to. She was intending to go, and she tried to escape, but Sharon chased her and stabbed her and did all the things she did to her. But just like her confession was putting those two guys in the crime scene. But when she finished whatever she was doing with Katie and she came back, the two guys had already left, and they left her there. And she dragged the body out of, like, by the road, and just left the body by the side, which was why it was easily found the next day. However, those two guys got themselves out by providing an alibi for each other. Like, yeah, it's weird. I don't know if that's okay, but that's how they got themselves out of the whole situation. So her trying to confess and trying not to confess, but her confession and bringing those two guys in just did nothing for her but strengthened the case of the girl's family. And she just tried, all of that just really tortured the family more, because you already confessed to it, and then trying to plead not guilty, because she pled not guilty during her case, even though she ended up being found guilty and was sentenced to life imprisonment, but with the possibility of parole after 14 years, even though it was later changed by Chief Justice to 12 years, to a possibility of parole after 12 years. Given that most of Sharon's, I don't know, like, read, and at such a very young age when the brain is actually supposed to be developing, she did not give herself a chance to grow up. I don't feel bad for her because she did something really terrible, but I also feel like her family and the situation she grew up in contributed very seriously to who she ended up becoming, I guess. Plus the actions and the decisions that she made and the decisions that she took, because she got into it. I don't think her mom fed her that. So Sharon ended up being sent to not a prison, but a mental hospital, Broadmoor High Security Mental Hospital, where she ended up meeting someone. You guys wouldn't believe it. Sharon was almost getting married to another inmate called Robbie Lane, who was there because of a similar situation. So Robbie Lane killed his mom because he felt like the mom was giving more attention to his sister, also a mental issue, and he killed her in such a horrific manner. He gouged out her eyes, and just, it was a horrible way to kill someone, talk less of their own mom, their own family. So they had met, and I don't know, they had some time talking to each other. They were given some supervised dates, I would say. They were allowed some supervised dates, even though Sharon stayed in another wing and Robbie stayed in another wing. So after some time of dating in the hospital prison, they decided they wanted to get married. And that's when a newspaper wrote a report about all of, hey, these two crazy murderers are about to get married. And probably the newspaper detailed all of the crimes they had committed. Sharon being like this girl, someone who stabbed someone at 12 years old, who killed an adult at 12 years old in such a horrific way in which she did it. And Robbie, who got out his mom's eyes, and the horrific murder he committed, which landed them there. And when they asked a staff, they were like, okay, they have written about them, can I see it please? A staff brought the newspaper to them, and they decided, okay, geez, you're so horrible, how could you do something like that? I can't be with you anymore. And yeah, that's how the relationship ended, and they did not end up getting married. However, just the news of them thinking about getting married already really affected Katie's family, because the mom was like, the dad felt like it had broken their family. The mom and dad, they ended up having a divorce after their daughter died. Like, it really just destroyed their family, and it was just so annoying to them that she gets to live a life and gets married when their daughter was taken away from them. The dad wanted her to be hanged, and he stood by his word even when 9 years later, when he saw that she was about to get married. However, that marriage did not happen, and this, guys, was a story of the devil's daughter. She's still serving her time, because like, she's still kept in a high security prison, because later on Broadmoor high security mental hospital was later specified just for men, so she had to be moved to another one. Well, guys, let me know what you think of this case. Do you think Sharon should have gotten a better life if she was in a different situation, like family situation, and maybe Katie would not have been a murder victim? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe. See you guys in the next video. Happy Thanksgiving.